Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate all your support. There is no channel without you, so hope you're having a fantastic day. Before we get started, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate it. Uh, let's go. Shout out to the 19. We have another Sophie Cunningham video because she has some interesting things that she says here. And again, it goes to her being refreshing and being honest about things that she's asked about, the whole everything that happened surrounding her sticking up for Caitlin Clark. Like, I don't think she specifically talks about her like her followers blowing up on TikTok or anything specific like that, just kind of in general. But then she gets into something that I think is really important that I want to tie in a little bit to last night's game as well. So let's take a listen. It's only about 40 seconds long.
Take off in a positive way.
Yeah, I think that's just what I've always been about. The people who know me, they're like, we're not surprised. Like, that's how you always have been. I didn't mean for it to blow up like that. I didn't mean for it to blow up at all, to be honest. But at the end of the day, like, I'm here to focus on basketball. I'm still so not satisfied with how I'm playing. I'm so annoyed by it, to be honest. And so I just need to dial in, focus on my shot, focus on kind of getting back to where I was before I got injured. So that's where my mind's at. This is all super cool, and I think it's fun. I think it's cool to show young boys and girls it's cool to stand up for your teammates, to stand up for your friends, to do that type of thing. But my mind is like, I need to start scoring the ball.
There you go. And I think there's a couple of important things in here. Yeah, she's absolutely right. I do believe it's important. I think it's cool for, I know it gets a little tricky with the age because of like the extra that would happen, but I think that's up to parents and they can explain and deliver properly because I do think it is important for young players to have an understanding of what it means to be a teammate. And sometimes that means in a situation where you have to stand up for your teammate, the way you might stand up for a classmate who's getting bullied or something in school, and you need to stand up for your teammate, and you can't allow them to, suffer consequences of what might be happening on the court because maybe, and to add to that, because I've talked about this before a little bit, like all teammates are not going to like each other personally. They may not spend time together off the court, off the field, or whatever it is. I think that can be helpful. But if you have the right type of players that understand what it means to be a teammate, and so that in the locker room, you are 100% together, you have each other's back, you have each other's back when you go out and compete, that is what truly matters. I don't know that I see that with the Fever yet. I see it here and there with some, but not with all. And then I also think it was really interesting that she dialed it right back to, hey, you know what? It's all great that I'm getting this attention and that's who I am, defending my teammates. I always will do that. But you know what? I need to play better. It's great that I can defend my teammate, but I have other things that I need to help this team with that I help me add value to this team that makes me a valuable part of this team. And that's pulling my weight in my performance on the court. And I think it's interesting that she brought it, she wasn't prompted with that. She brought it back to that. And she ultimately showed up last night in a clutch performance. As we can see here, they're even talking about Fever star Sophie Cunningham praised for clutch performance. And I did in the post-game video. If you haven't seen it yet, go check that out. She had maybe the biggest bucket, at least, considering the timing and everything, the biggest bucket of the game. About 4 minutes to go. Minnesota finally cut the lead to single digits. It was 60-51, and Sophie Cunningham hit a long three-pointer as the shot clock was running down to put him back up 12, which sort of, not completely iced it. You had 4 minutes left, but it was really, really important in terms of the momentum and where the game was at that time, where the game was going with the Lynx. That was a huge, huge bucket for the Fever and a huge bucket for Sophie Cunningham, which would, I won't even say the way she's been playing lately. She hasn't been contributing from a scoring perspective lately. That is true, but she always, just like Lexi Hull, always brings other things to the court. But as you can see here, and I just did a video on this part, which says receive a lot of backlash for remarks she made about the league's expansion plans when talking about Detroit and Cleveland. You want to listen to your players too. Where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? I do think that Miami would have been a great one, and she goes on about that. I did another video on that as well, so I'm not going to really get into that too much. But last night, she kind of broke out of that mini offensive slump that we're talking about, that she was talking about, because I've seen a lot of Sophie Cunningham Now I'm going to say hate, but only because you understand what I mean. I hate. Yes, I hate the way the word hate is used in terms of sports when you're like criticizing a player and be like, "Oh, that player sucks right now." That player can't hit the side of a barn. Like that's just normal fandom speak. And to say Sophie Cunningham hasn't been playing well offensively lately is not actually hate. But there have been a lot of people who have, let me put it this way, have really been on Sophie Cunningham's case. I've seen this one person who's just been absolutely obsessed with like every time they talk about the Fever, it's Sophie Cunningham's the worst player on the team. They never should have got Sophie Cunningham. She's the reason they're losing all these games, and on and on and on. And it was good to see Sophie kind of respond to that now. She talked about that. I think that was pre-game media availability before the Lynx game, and she had 13 points, 3 of 5 behind the arc. She was 4 of 6 total. Again, I tell you that absolutely clutch bucket that she had when the Lynx cut the game to 9. Um, and of course, here, fans who have stood by her all season long made sure to call out her critics after her incredible effort against the Lynx. Let your Sophie Cunningham apologies be just as loud as your doubt and hate. Yeah, so there's been a lot of that. And let me just say, Sophie Cunningham saw all that dragging and took it personal. I love how Sophie Cunningham can block out all the noise and go out there and be clutch off the bench for her team. Sophie Cunningham on playoff time is a demon shooter, a social media user declared. And yeah, well, what I think is interesting, if we could get away from so much of the rest of it, is I like this. Now I know there's stuff out there because of the WNBA that it's been way over the top, but the this idea of like, oh, Sophie Cunningham's terrible. She shouldn't even be playing. And then, she scores buckets and the fans are supported like she's awesome. You all need to shut up now. Or even switching. You thought she was terrible, but now she's playing well, and now you're praising her. That's normal fandom. If you're a Fever fan, that's what you do, right? If I'm an Eagles fan, that's what I do. I keep telling everybody, man, after starting 2-2 and Saquon Barkley dropping an easy pass on 4 and 4 on fourth down to lose the game, like we wanted our head coach fired, and we were like, Saquon Barkley is a free agent signing bust, and that's just fans being fans, man. Uh, Says Cunningham hasn't been incredible for the Fever this season, but she's been accountable. Last week, she talked about wanting to be a better leader in the locker room. Yeah, we did a video on that where she talked about how she has to do a better job of bringing players together and taking on that role. Which is interesting. This is just sort of an aside. I actually wasn't going to talk about this, but it just popped into my head because Sophie Cunningham, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if the exact number. I'm not going to waste your time and check here, but she's been in the league about the same amount of time as Kelsey Mitchell, correct? Like maybe they're a year or two apart. I mean, I think they're both around 28, 29 years old. And it just made me think about the way Kelsey Mitchell talked about bringing in Bonner and bringing in a vet. And I'm like, Kelsey, and there's that mentality. And I think we're seeing a little switch with Kelsey Mitchell now, but there's that mentality aspect of it. Um, Kelsey didn't really, I guess, because she hadn't been on teams that have been winning, didn't really see herself as a vet that the younger players can look to and learn from, but she really is. Sophie Cunningham's obviously embraces that type of role, which I think is interesting and I think is important. I think the Fever need that if she can be someone that brings them all together. But yeah, man, I just think I do agree with this. I wouldn't say no incredible. No, I wouldn't say she hasn't been incredible. I think she's been an important part of the team who's been in an offensive slump lately, although they don't really call her number very often. But it is 100% true that she is someone who is accountable. And the more players you have that are accountable, the better off you are going to be as a team. So shout out to Sophie for that. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.